My dear friends, it's such an honor to be here and share this moment with you. And, the question they asked me today was about happiness, and particularly whether, what happiness depends on. Now, let me tell you, the concept of happiness has been studied literally for thousands of years. The, in ancient Greece, back in the time of Socrates, some 400 years before the Christian era, these people are studying already what beauty is, what constitutes a good life, what is happiness, and how to attain happiness. In other words, the pursuit of happiness, as Americans, so much engaged in the process of pursuing happiness. That pursuit isn't an American phenomenon. It's not a new idea. Humanity has always been seeking happiness, pursuing happiness. It's part of our DNA. It's part of what we want as human beings. We all want to feel better, do more, be more, right? We all want that. And that's an innate drive that we all have. And so people have been talking about this for many years. Now, something amazing happened in the 1980s, which was the advent of the internet. The very rudimentary forms of the internet started back in the late 80s. And what that allowed people to do was to do research, academic research, on a massive scale that is unprecedented in history. You see, before the internet, if you wanted to ask a bunch of people their opinion on a particular topic, you would actually have to send somebody over there and ask one by one what they thought about certain topics. And so when you do this kind of populational type research where you want to ask a bunch of people what they think, those studies prior to the 1980s and 90s were very, very limited. You could ask, maybe 10, 20, 50, 100 people. It was very expensive. What the internet allowed people to do is to do research on a very massive scale. I'm talking like millions of people can be surveyed on a particular topic. And so Dr. Martin Seligman, back in the late 80s, became the president of the American Psychological Association and had a brilliant idea. He wanted his presidency to leave a legacy to the public. And he thought, psychologists have primarily studied what's wrong with people and how to get them out of trouble. In other words, mental illness, problems, depression, anxiety, problems. How can I fix the problem? And he says, what if we start off with a person who's already normal and see if we can bring him to a higher level of awareness, a higher level of existence, a higher level of happiness? And this became the foundation of what today is called positive psychology. Positive psychology has a whole lot to say about happiness. In fact, Dr. Martin Seligman himself published a book called Authentic Happiness, in which they talk a whole lot about this, what the research has to say about this. One of the most interesting questions that I want to share with you, if you haven't read the book, is the following. In our culture, at least, the association between income and financial resources with happiness is very much tied up. Most people believe that the way to achieve more happiness is by pursuing more money or more resources. And what Dr. Martin Seligman says is that indeed it is true. There is a statistical association between income and happiness up to a certain point. In other words, if our income is so low that we cannot go to the doctor, we cannot buy the food we need to eat, if we cannot have shelter, clothing, then clearly our happiness is going to be hindered by lack of resources. And sadly, that is the case for many people throughout the globe. But he says that once we have a certain amount of resources, a certain amount of money, enough to satisfy our basic needs and necessities, any further income does not necessarily increase your happiness. You see, so happiness does depend on income up to a certain level, and then from there on, it no longer depends on income. It depends on other factors. It depends, for instance, on a spiritual life. One of the great conclusions of some of these studies is that for adults, marriage, for instance, is a great deal. Married people tend to be happier than non-married people. That's a very interesting thing. They happen to do better, statistically speaking, they happen to do better financially. They do better health-wise, and they actually do better, according to research, in terms of longevity. In other words, they live longer, they make more money, and they're healthier than non-married people. So marriage, or at least a good marriage, because marriage also has the potential to do the exact opposite. It can be, it can be detrimental to those three factors if it's an unhappy situation. But if you happen to build or find yourself in a happy marriage, then those are associated with a much better quality of life, and on and on and on. So the research on happiness is so solid nowadays that I would invite you to look up people like Dr. Martin Seligman, the book, The Authentic Happiness, And that's going to open up this field of study for you. And you're going to be fascinated by the notion that there's so much that we can do to make ourselves happier. Notice, in the old days, it used to be thought that happiness is something that you either have or don't have. You are or you're not happy. In other words, you're stuck with whatever your own level of happiness is. Today, we know that that's not the case. There's a whole lot that you can do now for yourself to become happier if that's what you want to do. In fact, another one of Dr. Seligman's book is called Learned Helplessness. And Dr. Seligman explains how, in some cases, we actually learn through a process of conditioning to not help ourselves to become happier. And those processes of learning can be unlearned. In other words, we can actually learn, this may sound a little confusing, but we can actually learn the techniques necessary to make ourselves happier. And therefore, my dear friends, what I'm sharing with you is this. If there's any problem in your life, such as an addiction, depression, any type of problem in your life that you believe is taking away from your potential happiness, let us know. Let's talk about this, because there's a whole lot that you can do. I'll be more than happy to help you in any way I can. And I guarantee you that by eliminating some of those problems, you automatically increase the level of happiness that you can experience, the level of joy that you can experience. That new level of joy becomes your new standard, you see, your new baseline. And then from there on, you can build up so much more and become such a more fulfilled human being. And I'm here to experience that with you, to share that with you, to witness your own growth and your own increasing happiness. By all means, if you like this information, please like, share, subscribe to our channel, and click on the little bell so that you can become notified as soon as we post a new video. And, comment on this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your experience with happiness has been. And please let me know if you have any questions, because if you do, we can engage in a dialogue. And through that dialogue, we can all grow together. Thank you so much for your presence here today. And I'm looking forward to meeting you soon. Thank you. Hi friends, if you're enjoying the content that we're sharing with you in this channel, if you like the videos that we post every single day, sharing with you the best that we have learned over the many, many years, the entire team has something really special to share with you now. And that is our 12-week program in which you can learn everything about the human being, starting with your own spiritual anatomy, as we call it, what we're made of, where we come from, where we're going to, how we can become a self-realized human being. And we cover all of this knowledge in 12 weekly, in 12 sessions, 12 weeks. Once a week we meet right here in Miami, Florida. And a lot of people, I myself have learned all of this during, this process. And I think you might enjoy coming to our classes if you like the topics that we cover here. And I say this because a lot of people ask us, I love your videos, but I want to know where I can learn more. Well, if you want to learn more, come to class and you're going to learn all you want to learn, because that's all we do over there. Learn, share, teach, and learn from one another. So get the information below if you're interested in our classes, and we're going to have a great time. Now, as always, remember, every one of those videos that you watch, if you really like the content, make sure that you like the video. It's important to us and it's important to you, because by sharing your liking of the video, more people will be able to see it as well. So thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful project, and many blessings to you. I'm looking forward to meeting you personally soon.